Hey, and welcome to the Jessica Paul podcast. I'm your host, Jess Paul, actress, manifestation expert, and mindset coach. And I'm here to share with you all of my secrets on confidence, success, and the magic of manifestation. If you're ready to dive in deep and see more success in your career, more money in your bank account, and more love in your life, with a whole new level of freedom, then you're in the right place. I'm letting loose on everything you need to take back control of your life, up-level your mindset, and tap into your manifestation powers. I'm so excited that you're here. Hello, you gorgeous souls, and welcome back to another episode of the JP podcast. It's me, your host, your mentor, your guide, your spiritual bestie, all of the things that are going to help you manifest that life that you freaking love. Welcome back, guys. So nice to have you here. So this week, we're diving into an episode that is actually going to be really fun to talk about because I'm basically going to be chatting to you all about how I manifested my first ever TV job as an actor with James Corden. So I don't know whether you guys know, but I recently got my first TV job. I am an actor as well as a business owner, as well as a mindset and manifestation mentor and all of these things. And I have been an actor first and foremost for pretty much the whole of my life. And I've had such an amazing career. But I had done a lot of things on stage and in musical theatre. And I know a lot of my audience are also creatives yourselves. And if you're not a creative, don't worry. Like, this episode is still going to really apply to you because basically everything I'm chatting about in this episode on how I manifested this is going to apply to everything that you're manifesting. But we specifically want to talk today about manifesting career goals, career opportunities, like the job that you love, like all of those like high achiever energy things, because I know that a lot of you guys that listen in are all after those things, those next level moments in your career. So I'm really excited to talk to you guys today about this because this was like a huge manifestation in my life, and not only to get my first TV gig, but also to get it alongside James Corden, who is probably one of the most successful actors that made it over in the US, and producers, and very freaking rich and abundant, right? So the very fact I was actually working alongside him says so much as well. So I'm really excited to dive into this episode and basically run through exactly how I manifested this with you today. But first of all, we have our sponsor for this week, which is the Becoming Superhuman Masterclass, which I have sponsored a number of times on different episodes of this podcast. This is the latest masterclass that I brought out, and it is all centered in around how you maintain your vibration through those shitty moments in your life, right? Because we're always going to be hit with curveballs. We're always going to be hit with things that don't go to plan. And I'm giving you my tried and tested step process to help you overcome these things in this Becoming Superhuman Masterclass. You get added into a private Facebook community with the other members. You get the whole masterclass up there, and you can go back to that whenever you want, and you can take your notes on that. And you also have the opportunity to ask me any questions inside the Facebook group as well, and I will get there and reply to everything. So if you've been loving everything I'm teaching on this podcast and you want to be involved in my energy, this is my lowest ticket offer that I have available at the moment. It is only £44, guys. So if you're wanting to invest in yourself and in your mindset and in your energy, then this is the perfect masterclass for you to get involved in. So as usual, I will post the link in my show notes so you can go ahead and grab it. And if you've got any questions, just drop me a DM over on Instagram and I'll be happy to answer them for you. And I'll hopefully see you all in there. And our life update for this week is, of course, the beautiful celebration of my sister's marriage. She got married at the weekend, and now they are Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, and with baby bump too. And it was just the most perfect day, like even to the point where the sun like came out and started shining just as they walked out the church for all the photos. And I actually sang at their ceremony as well. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, that was the most nervous I think I've ever been to sing. Like, I have sung in front of, I'm a singer, I sung in front of freaking thousands of people at a time, but for some reason that was so nerve-wracking. I think it's because I just wanted it to be so perfect because it meant so much to me as well. And it was just the best day. So congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Anderson. And actually, at the same time, I put up an Instagram about this. So at the same time, I hit another milestone, and another huge manifestation came in for me. And it's really interesting because last week's episode, I was talking about how we've got to let go and play and, play in the 3D and just allow these manifestations to come in. And it was very fitting that I got a huge manifestation whilst I was partying at my sister's wedding. And so we've actually hit 10K downloads on the podcast. Thank you so much, guys. Like, this means so much to me because I've put so much time and energy into this podcast over the last few months. And I know that for some people maybe that are listening that are podcasters and like have been podcasting for a while, that might not sound like a lot to you, but for me it is a huge milestone because I set the intention of creating a successful podcast, and this is what I'm achieving. And, it just goes to show that you can manifest anything that you put your mind to. And so I'm really excited. And, I get so many of you that tune in every single week, like those of you that are listening now. And I get messages from you guys on Instagram and everything daily. So it's just so good to see how much this is inspiring and helping and, changing the lives of you guys as well. Because it means so freaking much to me. And the reason I'm so passionate about chatting about this and that I can talk for days is because every single bit of this work has changed my life. And so I want people to know about it. I want to share it. So just a massive thank you for subscribing and hitting 5 stars and, sharing it with your friends and your family and everybody, because it means the absolute world to me that this can be pushed out there and help more people. So if you haven't yet, make sure you do go and subscribe. That you can hit the little follow button on either Apple Podcasts or on Spotify as well, or any of the other platforms that you listen to on. And when you subscribe to the podcast, it gives you a little notification for when I've brought an episode out, so you'll never miss it. You'll be the first to listen. Get yourself subscribed. Thank you so much, and very excited to see where the podcast heads to next. So then, let's get into today's episode. How I manifested my first ever TV job with James Corden. So just a little background again, guys, that I've been acting for years, right? And I've had a very, very successful career. Like, I've manifested a lot in my career. I've done lots of film, independent film. I've done lots of stage, lots of musical theatre. I've played Sandy in Greece. I've played it like on stages all around the UK and around the world. And I've done, really well in my acting career. And but however, I had a goal, and my goal was to manifest my first TV job in the UK, right? Obviously now I've got other goals because that's happened. But I really put my sights on the first TV job because I've got there's some specific things in my acting career that I just see myself doing. Like, when I envisage my future self, I see her in these certain shows or certain BBC dramas and stuff like that. And so I just had my sights set on getting this first TV role, right? So I'm going to talk you through exactly how I did this, how I achieved this. And this is not only going to help other actors that listen in to this podcast, because I know a lot of you guys are actors that listen in, but also it's going to help you business owners out there, you ambitious people out there that are wanting to progress in your career, like up level in your career, in like move into that dream job of yours. Do the thing that is going to freaking light you up in life, because the majority of people that listen into this podcast are high achievers, because I'm a high achiever myself. So obviously I'm attracting you guys in, right? And I actually put a poll up on my Instagram story the other day, and I was asking what you want to hear about on the podcast. And so many of you, first of all, messaged in being like, oh, I want to hear about, more about how to manifest my acting career. But also so many of you messaged in just like, how do I manifest my dream job? Right? And so this is really what today's episode is going to be about. So the first thing that I did, and the first thing I'm going to talk about when it comes to manifesting an up level in your career and in your job and everything like that, is I decided to either go big or go home, right? There was no in between for me. It was very black or white. It was either aiming for the ultimate shit or not doing it at all, right? And I'm a very all or nothing kind of girl anyway, but you really have to be if you want to call in at the exact thing that you desire. So this is all part of like finding clarity on what it is that you actually want. Like, do you even know what you actually want, right? Now, what I see so much in like creatives and business owners and, you know, ambitious people like aiming high in their careers is that you don't actually end up aiming high because you are so ridden with blocks and subconscious limiting beliefs around what you can actually achieve that you don't even go there, right? And I see this so much. This is every single academy member that comes into my academy is the same when they first start. They're like, oh, I'd be happy with this. And then by the end of it, they're like, no, I'm going to have this and this and this, right? Because we've got to go big. We've got to aim freaking huge if we want huge, because we all do at the end of the day. Like the reason you're feeling any kind of resistance around, you know, maybe seeing someone else have that job of your dreams or, you know, seeing someone else live that lifestyle that you want to be living is because you want that too, right? So there's absolutely no point in us aiming low for the sake of it, right? So disclaimer here, guys, there was a hell of a lot of inner healing that had to be done for me to get to this point in my business and in my acting career and in everything that I've ever manifested career-wise, right? There had to be so much healing because one of the main things that I found was not only these subconscious limiting beliefs around what I was capable of or even if I was worthy of it, right? And now these are all like the standards of your self-love that we have to dive into. Like this, your self-love is your foundation, okay? So these things, like even believing that you're freaking worthy of having this job is like number one priority to do. So that subconscious block work, actually going into that into those shadows, actually diving into these blocks, diving into the things that are holding you back, this is freaking essential. And this is all part of matching that frequency, matching that vibe of next level career, okay? So for me, this has been going on for years, okay? Like the whole reason that I became a mentor in the first place and started coaching on manifestation was because I freaking changed my whole life by falling back in love with myself, doing this inner work, healing my soul, and then actually getting to a point where I was like, yeah, I'm fucking worthy of everything. So obviously I'm going to have it, right? And getting to that point. And that is the foundation of all of this. So if you've not done any work, or if you're right at the beginning of your self-love journey or how you feel in your self-worth, like that's your main priority, right? That is your main priority. Don't even try and do anything else right now, okay? And the reason this is your main priority is because you're not even going to get past that initial aiming big, like aiming high thing, because you're just going to be like, well, no, I don't believe I can, right? I just don't believe I have it in me. So, you know, for me, as I say, I kind of, like, again, quick rundown. I went from like 3 years ago being an out of work actress, having this kind of good, like, career trajectory, and then suddenly it all kind of falling off, and there is no coincidences there. It's because my mindset started falling off. And so I ended up out of work actress. I had no money in the bank account, and I was like, what am I going to do with my life, right? And it was only when I actually first started believing that I could achieve these things, like freaking to my core, like there is no doubt in my mind, I'm worthy of this, I'm capable of this, and I can achieve this, right? That was until I hit that point, that was the only time that I could then go, okay, now what am I aiming for? What is my goal? How high can I go, right? So that's like the first thing that you guys have to work on if you've done no work on this at all. And the other thing that I found, and the other thing that I see in most of my clients, is that, you know, I was very predominantly as a high achiever in my masculine energy, right? And so that's this energy where we are very linear, we're very working, never stopping, pushing ourselves into overdrive and getting stressed and feeling frustrated. And if any of you guys can relate to that, these are all these self-destructive qualities of a high achiever, okay? So I talk about this in my academy, like we want to move away from being in this destructive vibe and move into being in this creative vibe, creation vibe, okay? Because until we can actually just balance out that masculine and feminine within us, like we're always going to be working ourselves into the ground, and as high achievers, right, as people who want to achieve in their career. And this is because we've been taught to be that way, right? We live in such a masculine dominated society. It is changing now, by the way. Like, we've seen over the past few years such a rise in this like light energy and feminine energy, and that's maybe another topic for another episode. But so many of us that are high achievers have just been freaking taught that it's hard work. Like, from the moment that you were in high school or even primary school, where you were taught to get good grades, and then you were given validation for getting that A star, like, you know, well done, Jess, you got an A star in history, fantastic. And it then instills within your mind that, like, oh God, okay, well, I better keep working hard then if I want to continue being validated and successful, okay? And as an actor, this is pretty much instilled within me since I freaking started. Like, you know, every mentor I had as an actor said to me, you know, and these like mentors that again were conditioned themselves. It's not like people have just set out to be, you know, annoying. Like, we've all been conditioned. But, you know, people would say to me, oh my God, Jess, you better be ready. This is a really hard industry you're going into. It's going to take a lot of work. You might not have a job for ages, right? And so obviously I'm going into that industry being like, oh my God, this is really hard, you know? And I'm there going, why can't I even get an audition, right? And again, for business owners, if you've just started a business or you're thinking of starting a business and you're like, why is it so difficult to get a first client? Why can't I do it? Why is everybody else doing it but not me, right? It's because you're living with a subconscious belief that it's freaking difficult, you know? And again, like, there's a lot of work that needs to be done around this in order to actually understand what it is you're believing and why you're believing that, where it's even come from in the first place. But for me, I was instilled with this belief, so obviously that's what I started to see in my career. Because if we go back to those other episodes I did in the Back to Basics series, where I was talking about how your reticular activating system gets involved in your brain. And if you're believing that it's hard work, then your brain's just going to seek out all the things around you that are like proving that it's hard work. So it's just going to feel more and more difficult for you to progress in your career, in your business, in your life, right? And so the secret really to, you know, as a high achiever, you know, getting the job of your dreams or creating the business of your dreams or getting that acting role of your dreams is to remind yourself that it's fucking easy, right? And that might sound really weird for me to say, for those of you that are still living with that deep block that it's bound to be hard, right? It's easy if you affirm to yourself that actually you create the ease in this situation. It can be as easy as you freaking want it to be. That's when you're going to start seeing change in what happens. And this is how we balance out that masculine and feminine within us, and how we actually do see these things manifest for us. You know, there was a whole load of years in my life where I wasn't achieving anything, but I was working my ass off, right? I was not someone that was lazing around. Or on the flip side of that, I'd end up procrastinating because I'd be in such this perfectionist mentality that I'd do nothing at all, right? So there was extremes that were going on there for me, all because I was living with this belief that it was bound to be hard work if I wanted to actually achieve things. The minute that I just let that go and was like, fuck that belief, like, I'm going to believe something better and something easier, that's when the natural balance of my feminine started to come back in again. And it was like, oh, it actually starts to feel fun now. Like, this is what my career should feel like. You know, this is what my next level in my career, in this progression in my career should feel like. So like I said, a hell of a lot of healing work has gone into this journey for me that I've been doing for years and years and years. And, you know, it's something that never freaking stops. And I've said this before. This is why I created the Becoming Superhuman Masterclass, because that is all centered in around how we navigate through those new shadows that come up and those new blocks that come up for us, because with every new level, there's a new devil, right? With every new level we're hitting in our career or getting in that new job that we're in, there's going to be new blocks that come up for us if we want to keep climbing those ladders, right, of success. So being able to understand that, actually acknowledge that, and keep working on it is key. And that's why if you guys listen to this, you haven't even started any work on this inner healing or this inner work, and you don't even know where to start, I would just really highly recommend get yourself a coach or a mentor that you trust that is going to help you work through these things. It's exactly what I did. And it took me time, guys. It took me time to really, truly fall back in love with myself and understand that I was worthy and understand that I was capable of actually having these things in my life, right? Before I could even have them in my life, okay? So get yourself a mentor that's going to help you along in the process. I have literally all of my one-on-ones come to me. They've already done a lot of this work, but they're coming to me because they want to hit a new level, right? Whole new level in their career or in their business, or to start a business. One of my clients, Kezia, she'd been working for me for freaking years. And through this whole time, she came to me as an out-of-work actress. And in this time, she's created a business working with me. She's now this business is doing incredibly well. And, all of this was because she chose to work with a mentor to push her into that place, right? So, make sure you're investing in yourself in that way that's actually going to get you to that point too, because I'm not going to lie, that was a huge part of my own journey in my career. Like, actually hiring mentors, so I'm not going to sit here and say, you can do it all yourself if you want to, but that's not how I did it, right? Because I knew that if I wanted to get from A to B quickly, I had to go and get some freaking support and accountability. So that's what I did, and that's probably why it manifested for me so quickly. So, as I said, guys, I decided to go big or go home, right? That was my whole process with manifesting this first TV job. I was like, I'm either going to aim for working with freaking high profile people on high profile TV shows or nothing at all, right? I didn't want to get just that walk on in a soap, That I would have been absolutely happy with, don't get me wrong, but that's not what I was aiming for, because I knew that I could do more than that, right? So I did. I've written it all. I've got like passages in my journal of scripting where I was just scripting out, like, I am on set with high profile people. This is a huge job. There's a lot of money gone into this. It's a big production. And I aimed high, and obviously that's what I got, right? Because I asked for it, and when you ask for it, you receive it. Okay, so I ended up on, it was an Amazon, it's an Amazon Prime production, right? So a lot of money went into this. Like, this is my first time working on a big set, and it was huge. I got driven everywhere, and the trailers were massive, and it was, honestly, really initially quite intimidating. And then I was like, well, no, who is this future self? She's so used to this. She works on these sets every single day. So I just vibed with it, okay? And this kind of gets into the next bit of how I manifested this TV job. I just got into the vibe. I vibed so hard with this next level version of me. And I embodied exactly what this successful TV actress, how she would be going about her life, what she would be dressing like, how she would be speaking, how she'd be showing up, how other people valued her and viewed her. I just got so stuck into understanding who this freaking next level version of me was, right? And this is a huge part of what I do with my students, because it's probably the most fun part of manifestation, is really this embodiment process. And like I said, this comes alongside all of that inner deep healing that you do. For me, I'd already done the deep healing. So to actually manifest this job, it was just this whole process of embodiment. And I think I've spoken a few times on the podcast about some of my embodiment stories, but, one of the biggest ones was when I, had been stopped down the street in London multiple times, and I was asked what I did, and I would always answer them, oh, I'm on TV. And I'd answer it in the same way with every stranger that asked me what I did for a living. I'd always tell them I'm on TV. At the time, I wasn't on TV, but this was part of the embodiment process, right? And it's one of the stories that I tell so many of my students, because it's really uncanny how that energetic process worked so quickly for me. It was an absolute magnet for me, because in the same week that I really like practice this embodiment, that's when my agent called me to tell me about this first TV job. So vibing with it, not against it, right? Not being destructive, being in that vibe of creation. That was so key for me when I manifested this TV job. And, you know, because I'd really consciously gone in on this, right? That's the reason why, like I said at the beginning of this episode, I managed to manifest this TV job with James Corden, because actually one of my spiritual besties said to me, like when I told her I'd got this job, they were like, oh wow, that's incredible, like you're vibing at the frequency of fame. And then she was like, oh my God, you're vibing at the frequency of James Corden. Now that might sound a bit weird, but like if you just for a second think about James Corden's career trajectory, he has done incredibly well. Also, side note, really came to fame through his sitcom. I'm writing a sitcom, side note. And, you know, these things aren't coincidence, right? But, you know, if you just look at his trajectory and how famous he became in the US and, you know, working on the Late Late Show and, you know, starting this production company, and he's one of the wealthiest men, you know, like the wealthiest creatives, right? If you're in the presence of someone like that, if you've manifested the presence of someone like that, that means you're vibing at that frequency. And so it was really interesting when my friend said to me, wow, you're vibing at the frequency of James Corden, because that's how much conscious work I'd done on my vibration and, you know, that energetic alignment around being that next level version of me. That was like the biggest proof ever that I was vibing in the frequency of my next level, because I was with someone that was like high profile fame and fortune, right? Now, the next thing I did when I was manifesting this TV gig was I took the damn action, right? I was doing the things that actually got me to that point. And again, this isn't taking action that's going to feel really unaligned to you and make you feel frustrated and, you know, burn you into the ground like I was saying before. This action comes from a very inspired place. It comes from a place of excitement where it's like, I really want to do this thing. It feels good to do this thing, right? So I was doing things like calling up my agent and having meetings with him and saying, listen, this is where I see my career going, and, you know, really adding to and that identity and embodying that identity of my next level self. So, you know, just laying down the law and going, this is what I want, you know, from my life. And I was affirming it to other people. And, you know, I was, again, all of that other action in embodiment, you know, buying the clothes that I would wear, you know, showing up how I would show up. And, you know, all of that action towards embodying her was my action in getting this TV job. You know, it doesn't always have to be these massive bits of action that we take, these massive risks. Like, you can just be channeling your energy every single day, because that's how I like to view it, right? It's just channeled energy. I know that if the biggest results I've seen, whether it be in my business, you know, in my finances, you know, in manifesting money, or whether it be in like solely in my acting career, it's been where I've woken up that day and I've gone, right, where is my energy going today? Where is my focus being channeled today? And when you channel your focus in that way, the action just appears naturally, right? The action steps appear naturally. You don't even have to think about like what action you're going to take. Because I find that that's another thing that trips so many people up, is they'll be like, I don't know what action to take. Like, I feel like I've been taking loads of action. Like, I don't know what to do. And it's like, it comes up naturally for you when you just focus and channel your energy. Like, it happened to me literally the other day where I woke up, I set the intention, I was like, energy is channeling into my acting. And I was doing things like going on YouTube and watching other actors, or like watching documentaries, or putting in a podcast and listening to someone else's success story, you know, and like none of that actually required me to do anything, but I was following my alignment, and that was the action that I was taking. And lo and behold, that day was the day that my agent sent me a self-tape. Like, there are no coincidences with that. Every other day this week, I've been channeling my energy into different things, because I'm obviously running a business, I'm doing other things too. It was the one day this week where I was like, right, energy in my acting, that's when the self-tape came through. No coincidences. So if you're not an actor, if you're a business owner and you're wanting to get that client in, channel the energy, allow the action to come up as it's supposed to come up. Like, don't force the action. Don't like sit there thinking, oh my God, what do I have to do? What do I have to do? Just channel energy and go, okay, what's coming up for me? What do I want to do? If it is just putting in a podcast, maybe just putting in my podcast, listening to a successful business owner, right? Whatever it is, when you channel that energy, you're bound to see results. And the final thing I did to manifest this first TV job on Amazon Prime with James Corden was that I fucking trusted. I trusted myself. I trusted the process. I trusted that the universe was going to deliver it to me. There was no doubt in my mind that I was not going to get this thing, right? From the get-go, from doing all of that inner work from the get-go, from really working on those beliefs around this, around what I believed in myself, what I believed that I was capable of. From the get-go, there was no wobble in my vibration when it came to trusting. Like, that was probably the most secure thing about this whole process when it came to manifesting this TV job, because I didn't care when it was going to come. I literally did not care when it was going to come because I knew it was coming. Right? I knew it was going to happen for me. So, like, actually, when my agent phoned me to tell me that I'd got this job, the really weird thing is that I auditioned for it like a month prior. And my agent was even a bit like, oh, I'm actually a bit, I forgot about this thing. Like, I didn't even realize it was a thing anymore. And it was like that level of trust, because that level of trust was there, I wasn't asked about when it was coming in. I didn't care whether it was this year or in 10 years' time, because I knew it was happening, right? And the more I leaned into that level of trust, the quicker it came to me, okay? And as I've said before, and it kind of ties into my last episode on this podcast, like where I was talking about letting go and allowing it in, and how that really can be, reaching that place of non-attachment can be the hardest part of the process. But honestly, when you master that, you've mastered everything, okay? Because for me, because I've obviously, and now reaching new levels, I'm reaching new goals because I've already manifested that TV job, and I've manifested it with high profile people on a high profile show with a big budget. And now it's like, okay, what's my next thing? And with my next thing, again, there's no ounce of me that's like, oh, it has to be now. It has to be this year. It has to be now. I'm just like, it's fucking happening, right? There's no doubt in my mind. I've already got it, right? So for me, the timeline always collapses very quickly, which is why when I tell you, like, I manifested 100K in 8 months, or I manifested my business like overnight, or I manifested, this acting job last year, like the timeline collapses for me very, very quickly, because I'm so in that 5th, 6th, 7th dimension where I'm just in this ultimate level of trust. And now that comes down to a lot of the spiritual work I do, a lot of the energetic work I do. And these are all things like these are miracle side of what I do, right? But without that level of trust, I would have never manifested this TV job. I would have never manifested my business, the money that I've made, all of these things. So it really is like, can be like the hardest part of this process, but it's the most important part. So that, in a nutshell, guys, is how I've manifested my first ever TV job. It's how I'm going to continue manifesting all these things. And I'll do a little recap for you, and I'm going to give you some homework. So just to recap then, first thing I did was I decided to go big or go home. Like, there was no other option for me. I was aiming high, right? Second thing I did was I vibed the fuck out of it, right? I really got into it. I, understood what this successful TV actress version of me, who she was, and I became her instantly, right? Quantum leaped. The third thing I did was I took the action. Duh. We need to take the action. We need to have fun with the action. Don't get stressed with the action. Allow it to happen. Channel the energy, right? And the final thing I did was I trusted the hell out of it, right? There was no ounce of me that disbelieved that this was going to happen. It was always going to happen for me, okay? So what I want you guys to do as a bit of homework is I want you to just journal out on this journal prompt, right? And that is, if I had no blocks, right? If there was nothing holding me back right now, hypothetically, what would I be aiming for? What would I be aiming for? If there were no blocks, push the blocks aside for 1 second, say if there was nothing holding me back right now, the finances weren't an issue. If I had all the money in the world, if I had all of the contacts, all the, if I I knew everybody in the industry, if none of that was an issue and there were no blocks, what would I be aiming for right now? And the purpose of this is to show you how much you're already holding yourself back when it comes to manifesting that next level in your career or your dream job or any of your next level in your life, because it's the first thing that we trip up on, right? So we need to be aiming high. We're constantly expanding beings. This is what we deserve, okay? So journal out on this question, guys. Let me know in the DMs over on Instagram at I am Jessica Paul how you found it, what your biggest takeaways are. Do a little screenshot of this episode whilst you're listening and tag me over on your Instagram stories and let me know what some of the big things are that you are aiming for. I want to see them. I want to share them. I want to affirm them with you all, right? And before I go, I'm just going to say another little reminder that you can still download that free manifestation meditation from me. The link is going to be in my show notes again. So if you haven't snagged that, then make sure you do. This is a 5-minute meditation you can use every single day, and it's completely free. And with that, I'm going to sign off this week, sending you all so much love, and I'll chat to you next week. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a friend who you think would love it too. And if you want to let me know how you found it, just screenshot this episode, add it to your Instagram story, and tag me at I am Jessica Paul so that I can throw all the love right back at you. And of course, subscribe, hit those 5 stars, and leave a review to show your support and to keep the good stuff coming. Sending you so much love and gratitude from your girl Jess.